long background in MMA. Tell me about the time, like how you got your start in MMA itself.
Well, I was around before MMA was called MMA. We called it pancration. I did all different types of martial arts from the time I was a little kid. Started boxing when I was 4 and wrestled through school and put everything together. And then I learned about pancration and started practicing it. The WKA kickboxing was in Washington with Maurice Smith. Maurice and I trained together, and I fought in the WKA with him. And then he began fighting in Japan in the Pancras organization. I started fighting in Pancras, which was very close to MMA at the time. And then Extreme Fighting came around, the Battlecade Extreme Fighting events where I fought Pat Miletich and Eric Paulson. And then UFC started getting big around that time.
The diehards out there are going to know you from. Tell us about your connection to like Abu Dhabi
well, the way I got connected with Abu Dhabi was the Contender Submission Wrestling World Championships was the first event for the Submission Wrestling World Championships. They put me against Kenny Monday, one of the most decorated wrestlers in the world, for the main event. I beat him in 45 seconds. Sheikh Teknoon had been really impressed. He'd been training jiu-jitsu, and he had been really impressed that the wrestlers were starting to beat the jiu-jitsu guys in some of the UFC events. And so he was really intrigued with that. He watched the Contenders and saw me beat Kenny Monday in 45 seconds and said, get that guy over to teach me in my combat club. And I went over and taught him, and he was really inspired by what I taught him with submission wrestling. And he decided to put on the next Submission Wrestling World Championships in Abu Dhabi and sponsor it and have that event. That's how that event started. I competed in the first one, won all my matches but tore my ACL and didn't wrestle in the finals. And then I continued my relationship with him, and I still to this day bring lots of guys. Jeff Monson was one of the guys I brought in. That was the first non-jiu-jitsu guy to win it. I've always had the relationship since then with him.
Awesome. Where I know you've done commentating work for some organizations and anything else. What else do you have coming up in the future?
Well, this week's crazy. I go from here to Oklahoma for UFC, and then to Texas for UFC, and then I get about a week at home, and then I'll be off to Japan for Dream. I still work for Dream. I used to be a director at Pride, and I'm Pride's trainer. So I still train a lot of the fighters like Hayato Sakurai, and a lot of the Japanese fighters come out and train with me that fight in Dream. So I'm at every Dream, whether it's judging, refereeing, training guys, cornering guys. So between all those things and my own Genesis Fights events, next one will be November 6th here in Washington. I stay real busy doing that in my 2 gyms in Kirkland and Pacific.